David Jolly says that he wants to apologize to the world on behalf of Florida. He wants to go on an apology tour, similar to Barack Obama wanting to go on an apology tour. Well, in Florida, Sean, we are not going to apologize for being the best state in America. We're not going to apologize for being a common sense state that backs the blue and has free markets and limited government. It's what separates Florida from these other states. A lot of people from New York and New Jersey and Illinois who are fleeing those states, they left those states for a reason. They do not want to see Florida become New Jersey or Connecticut. They want Florida to remain free.
She wants to abolish prisons. I was a federal prosecutor, a judge. I locked people up. She wants to, have transition surgeries for kids without their parents' permission. I spent my life protecting kids from harm. I battled and was tip of the spear on the immigration just devastation created by Biden. She wants open borders for everybody. She wants government seizure of private markets. I fought back when government cracked down during COVID.
First, that was Florida gubernatorial candidate Republican Byron Donalds crediting Florida's success to common sense conservative policies he's campaigning on. He says Florida residents that fled blue states do not want to see Florida become another New Jersey or New York or Illinois. And that was Republican Senator Ashley Moody of Florida going after her far-left socialist opponent Angie Nixon for her Democrat communism. Let's bring in the co-host of the Fox News Big Weekend Show, Tomi Lahren. Tomi, it's so good to see you. What's your reaction to the state of the races right now? Because let's show it. The Washington Post is reporting that Democrats now view Democrat voters now have a more positive view of American democracy under Trump's first term. And Politico reports resistance Democrats are flopping in the primaries. We should point out 252 of Trump's candidates so far have won their primaries.
Right. And if we're talking about Florida specifically, ever since COVID and Florida's stance on freedom and freedom from tyranny and COVID restrictions, Florida has only become redder. It's similar to Tennessee, which has always been a red state, but has just gotten redder. Florida, has always been a toss-up until, of course, we saw Governor DeSantis and all the great things he's done with that state. So it's only become more red. I'm not worried for Republicans in the state of Florida. I think that Republicans will triumph at all of those races there because of the success of Florida under Republican leadership. Now, there are some other places that perhaps might be more vulnerable, but the biggest gift to Republican candidates as we sit here today is how absolutely crazy the Democrat Party has become. And there are some that are pushing back against it that don't want the communists and the socialists in their big tent. But by and large, DNC leadership seems to think it's okay if you have some communists and some socialists in the mix. They want this big tent. And we know that the socialists and communists themselves want to burn down the tent. So I think Democrats are going to have to grapple with this in November, and they're really going to have to grapple with it in 2028. It's the biggest gift to Republicans in the America First movement.
Tomi, to what you're saying, let's go through the lay of the land in terms of the districts nationwide and get your reaction to this. We know Florida's new congressional map is tilting. 4 more vulnerable Democrat seats are moving toward Republicans ahead of the midterms. 24 of Florida's 28 districts now tilt Republican and favor Republicans and Trump by 9 points. And Trump and his policies. Also, 6 states will now use new congressional redistricting maps. It's California, Florida, Missouri, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. A judge just gave the green light to the Republicans' new map for Missouri. It's more favorable for Republicans. Look at this, Tomi. 25 of the 46 battleground districts are now held by Democrats. They're in trouble there because 21 House Democrat seats up for re-election or elections are in districts that Trump won.
Right, and the map is going to look different, of course, this November because of redistricting. And nobody likes gerrymandering. Nobody likes to talk about it. But I think it's quite obvious when Democrats have the chance to gain an advantage, they do it. So why shouldn't Republicans do the same? That was very much President Trump's message to a lot of these states, including here in Tennessee, is why not gain the advantage if you can? We know Democrats will do whatever they can to win, so why not play the game? I will say this, too. I think that Republicans, they have to have a message that's more than just Democrats are crazy, socialists are crazy. So I'm looking forward to some of these Republican candidates really hammering on affordability and the things the American people care about. If they do that, they'll not only be successful in November, but they'll be successful in 2028 as well.
Tomi, let's please get your reaction to this. Watch DSA candidate Angie Nixon. Angie Nixon is running for the Senate in Florida. She's saying instead of working for Floridians and lower affordability problems, that she's going to go after Trump. Watch.
So I'm looking forward to going to Washington, D.C. to provide everyday hardworking people with some relief after we work to, impeach and I vote to remove Donald Trump and we hold his administration accountable. I'm so excited.
Where's the plan to focus first on helping Americans with affordability?
Yeah, again, you're going to watch this message shift as these socialist candidates are more and more in the spotlight and they're questioned more in their policies. They're going to let the truth slip out. They're simply anti-Trump. They really have no policies or solutions for the American people. The affordability game is nothing but a facade, and socialism can't solve that anyway. So they're going to make fools of themselves, and we just have to sit back, laugh, watch, but still take them seriously.
Thank you so much, Tomi Lahren. Appreciate you. It's good to see you. Now to this.